Hi, I'm Chantra Powell, and I'm the Proven Not Perfect podcast host and a best-selling author on Amazon. Do any of these words call out to you? Drive, ambition, doing, leading, creating. These words call many of us, and sometimes to heroic impact. This is all good until we forget about our own self and our own self needs, mainly care. My Village of All-Stars, they not only command position, but they command influence. Well, there's always a backstory. I myself, Chantra Powell, have had to put myself on the sideline a few times, but I'm still in the game. I'm staying in the game. The only thing different about me is that I'm proven not perfect. Enjoy. Hey, Proven Not Perfect. This is Chantra Powell, your host. I am so glad that you're here with me today. This is a very special day because it's the eve of the day that we celebrate those mommies, those mamas, those mothers, those grandmothers, those aunties, those caretakers in our world. I hope that if you are not with yours, that you are full of joy in your heart for the memory of those in your life. And if you are just logistically far away, I hope that you're sending all the love that you can. I know that I'm doing that in my own way with my beautiful mother who has set a pace and a tone. You know, I actually start to think about what are the things that really stand out for me about my mom. And I recently asked myself, what were the 3 words? And one word is grace. I think that's the first word for my mom, grace. When you are in her presence, you just feel such a gracious, graceful spirit. You really do. She makes you feel warm and at home and almost hugged, quite frankly. The next word that I would use for my mom is inspired. My mom, I believe from a little girl, has had the ability to see past circumstance and to allow herself to not only be driven for more, but probably to vision it for herself and to make it happen, which is the third word that I see from my mom, and that's courage. See, she's so courageous. She lost her mom as an adolescent, one of 7 kids, and she was loved by her aunties and uncles and raised in a wonderful family, in a wonderful family environment. But can you imagine how hard that must have been? And the courage, despite all of that in her life, to still be so committed to her dreams, to be so committed to her family, to be a lioness when called to be so, to protect us. Oh my God, I give it to my mom. So yeah, my 3 words for my mom are grace, inspired, and courageous, which is appropriate as we think about Proven Not Perfect and the 7 truths. And you know, there's 7 of them. Courage is one of them. And I think that one is the one that underpins the conversation that I'm going to share with you today. It takes courage, y'all. And we're going to talk about it in the podcast. It takes courage to do something bold and courageous that exposes your inner thoughts to others. And in this podcast, we're talking to an author who has not only birthed the book, written the book, published the book, but she's launching the book right now as you listen, as I speak. And it is a good one, y'all. It's a murder mystery fiction book. And I'm so excited that this is only the beginning. It's just number 1. And there's a series that's being worked on right now. The name of the book is Firestarter. The name of the author is my dear old friend, Stacey E. Harmon. Okay, let's be clear. She's not old. She is just one of those treasures in my life for so many years. And that doesn't mean that you have to talk all the time. I don't know how you guys explore relationships, but I am definitely one that goes for quality over quantity. When we touch base, do we acknowledge that we've both grown and changed? Yes. When we touch base, do we celebrate the person that they've become? Yes. And when we touch base, do we think fondly of the memories of the journey that, we shared at some point in becoming who we are? Yes. So that's how I think about quality over quantity. I don't know. How do you think about it? All right. Enough on that one. This is the podcast with Stacey E. Harmon, author, corporate executive lady who has a story to share, not only about becoming an author, but about dealing with those tough times in your personal and professional journey when a pivot is necessary. How do you survive? How do you thrive? Here we go. Proven Not Perfect. Hi, Stacey.
Hi, Chandra. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm so excited about this podcast conversation. This is absolutely one that I've been looking forward to. As my homegirl, right? We go way, way back. And it really warms my heart when I can do podcasts with people that I have literally had in my life for, more than probably 40 years. I don't know, something a lot.
Yeah. A long time.
Maybe I shouldn't have said that, Stacey, because some people are sitting there like, those haters that sit on the curb and they're like, yeah, okay, how old? She didn't tell me how old she was, but I figured it out.
Exactly. Old enough.
Doesn't matter because you and I both have some beautiful moms, and I think that we give them a whole lot of praise for, teaching us healthy habits. And it starts with the inside, right? It starts with the inside. Your mom is absolutely beautiful. And I know it starts with the inside, and I feel the same about mine. So in light of Mother's Day weekend, I feel like we couldn't go any further than starting there.
Absolutely. I agree. And you're right. Both of our moms are beautiful inside and out, beautiful souls, beautiful moms, and so glad to have both of them in our lives.
Amen. Amen. All right. So today is about you. Actually, this whole season is kind of about you, given this exciting venture that you're doing, having authored your first novel, fiction novel. This is so epic and major. So I need to rattle off the statistics that I took a look at just to frame for me how big this is, right? Okay, so 81% of people say that they would like to write a book, right? 97% actually start a book, and only 3% finish the book.
That's crazy.
Was crazy to me when I got my mind around that. I mean, had you ever thought about the odds, or was this so not about that? This was about a story to tell and the time to do it.
This was really about telling the story, getting that story out. That creativity was bubbling up in me and had to be told. I couldn't hold it back. And I didn't even know. And I'm so glad I didn't know the odds, because that would have probably been a deterrent.
No, it wouldn't have.
But those odds are just insane. And, it's funny. I spoke with a friend last week. And in fact, he said something similar in terms of he'd always wanted to write a book. And he said, he knew lots of people that want to write books that started and then just never came through. So that's pretty incredible.
So when you circle back and you think about, because I think actually exposing your thoughts is a courageous act. And so, with Proven Not Perfect, I really do pull from those 7 truths as I get my inspiration for who I want to talk to and how I want to host a conversation. And this topic, really, the inspiration for the whole thing is not only inspiration, but it's courage, right? And, I started to unpack that for myself, and I'd love to get your reaction to this, because when I think of writing a book, being courageous, what hits me is you are sharing what's in your mind out loud for people to see, for people to know. There's no changing it, there's no hiding it. So much of what we do is we manage how we show up and we control what comes out, right? So folks don't always know what we're thinking. But when
Right.
you take it out and put it in paper and you publish it, it's out there.
You're right. You become very vulnerable when you put your thoughts and your creativity out there for others to judge, for others to look at and say all these great things, but then also all of these negative things potentially. And you're really making yourself, like I said, vulnerable because you're willing to expose all those things that you are crafting and letting someone else take a look at it and make a decision about it. And that part is difficult.
Stacey, I think that when you say that, the math of the people that want to do it and actually start it and actually finish actually makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're
So
right.
where'd the courage come from?
Well, I tell you, it's quite interesting. I've been in the insurance industry for literally 33 years. So I started when I was 10, of course, right?
Of course you did.
Of course. And you know what, and with a career for decades, you know, there are lots of highs, lots of great things, lots of goodness. And then of course there are lows, like with any career, relationship, all those things.
Don't talk about it.
Yeah, I've been so fortunate in my career. And really at the point where I was department head and being groomed for executive leadership. One day came the meeting where there was going to be a reorganization within claims. And that's the part of insurance I'm in. And which was a little surprising, not that we had not had reorganizations before, but claims is such an integral part of every insurance company.
Yes.
And it came very quickly. And
claims. So tell folks what claims is, because for some people, they're really kind of even learning a little bit about insurance as they hear you and as they read the book too. What's the claims part?
So with claims, you have what we call the fire side and the auto side. And auto, most people are probably familiar with auto claims. If you have an accident, right? Unfortunately, we do. Then you would work with an auto adjuster, probably a body shop, and either get that car replaced, get that car fixed. And that's part of the easier side of claims. Not that any of it is truly easy. The more complex side is where I am with what we call fire claims, where could be homeowners claims where you have a home fire, water loss, theft, things of that nature. And it could be the home, could be business. It could be just a wide varying of claims, but it's the fire side, as we call it in operations.
Got it. So that's the side that I would imagine requires a lot of investigation and forensics. And quite frankly, it sounds kind of exciting.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Some people think insurance is boring, but actually it's really not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really got to put your thinking cap on. You're really a trained investigator when you work in claims and handling claims.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us, so you're in insurance, you're being groomed for executive leadership. You find out that they're going to do a reorganization. I'm sure at this point, probably being as successful as you've been, and probably having, the support that you must have had to be so successful for so long. Were you kind of like, okay, this will happen, but
two of my direct reports who were in mid-management were let go. And I was level reduced. Wow. And several people were in the same position. And it was a shock.
Yeah.
Significant shock. Exactly. I was level reduced and it was a bit of a surprise, a bit of a shocker. And frankly, it hurt. It was personal for me. And in fact, when that happened, I sort of went through the stages of grief, frankly, because it was a huge blow.
Yes.
And I had colleagues of mine who were in similar situations, and they left across the country. They left. Wow. And I'm in the Atlanta area, and there are lots of organizations in Atlanta, lots of different career opportunities. And I sincerely thought about leaving. And it was my husband who said, you know what? if you want to leave at some point, absolutely. But how about we give it some time? Don't leave because you're emotional. Don't leave because you're upset. Give it some time and stay with the organization. And how about you give it maybe a year, which I didn't think I could, but that's what he recommended. And so I said, okay, I'll give it some time. And he was right, because what happened was once I was level reduced, and so took on a different role and became really fully engaged in that position, it allowed me to take a step back. And it allowed me to say, you know what, I'm certainly going to give it my all and give 110% to my career, but I'm also going to give 110% to me.
Wow.
And yeah, that's what I decided to do at that point.
I think there's so much that you just said. I think of this new generation where for them, they bring a whole different mindset into the workplace, where almost from the start, they're focused on their corporate career and they're cultivating their passion, which may or may not coincide with that, right? Whereas generationally, that wasn't a thing for Gen X, right? For Gen X, we really came off that baby boomer approach. And we actually thought that we had the option of staying in one place for the rest of our career if we chose to do it, right? Mentors were formal relationships, sponsorship was absolutely an ingrained thing. And, it was almost like this chain of support that you sort of ascended. So I can definitely appreciate where if you're one of the ones, unlike me, that actually stayed loyal to one brand for all those years, that would be a blow. And I love that you shared the part of grieving, because I think that too often we put ourselves in this really unfair position where we believe that grief is only tied to death, right? And maybe it is tied to death, but that death doesn't always have to be a human soul, right? It can be death of dream. It can be death of opportunity. It can be death of so many things. And I love that you framed it. And I also love that you partnered well because your partner, probably when you didn't have the capacity to know what the options really were, outside of just being pissed off, quite frankly, and moving on, he gave you that coaching to say, stay still, at least just for a little bit of time. I love all of that. All of that. And then the pivot. So, okay, so now you're there. This has happened. You're in this for a year. You're reframing how you think about it. And where does a book come from?
Well, and you're right, I did the pivot and started focusing more on me. So at that point, I decided to get a personal trainer and lost 50 pounds.
You look beautiful. She always did. So let's just be clear there. But she's hot.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I decided to get serious, right? Yeah. And so I did that, started taking up tennis. And I'm an avid reader, love to read. I love reading murder mysteries. As my sister and I call it, murder, death, kill. And in fact, when COVID hit, my sister, my niece, and I started a small book club, and we would meet by Zoom every week and talk about the books we were reading. And here's the funny thing: my sister always figured out who the killer was after about 10 pages, and it just drove us crazy. So I decided, you know what? I'm reading these books. I love these books. I have a passion for reading, for writing, and I knew that I had something to offer. And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to write a story, and I'm going to pull out all of this that's within me and create something that hasn't been told in the way that I'm thinking, in the way that I want it to be told. And so that's what I started writing on. And it took me about 2 years to pull it out and to pull it together. And there'd be times when it just flowed and I'd be typing away. And there are times when I thought, oh my goodness, I have no idea, no idea what's coming next.
So is it like that for me? So I often wonder, because I love mysteries. The last series that I read was Pamela Thomas King, The Blue Blood Mysteries. She was a GE executive, beautiful, beautiful woman, and just a baddie in business. But man, she wrote these amazing mysteries that really got me thinking. And, I often wonder, so when you're pulling this brilliance out, are you yourself sort of letting the characters position themselves and tell you where they're going? Tell me the mind of a murder kill mystery person who I thought I knew. And oh my God, after all these years, I'm not sure. On the girls' trip, I'm keeping the lights on.
That's right. Don't worry, it's all fiction. But you're onto something there, because I let the characters develop. I create the characters. And it wasn't until several chapters in that the killer revealed himself to me. I did not know who the killer was until
Stacey, that is so epic.
Yes. And so they had to reveal themselves. And I think that's why, in talking to people who are reading my book, Firestarter,
Yes.
that they tell me, there's so many twists and turns. I had no idea ultimately who it was until the time that person was revealed.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So this is a good time for the commercial break. So Firestarter, you have got to order this book by Stacey E. Harmon. The illustration is absolutely beautiful. The book is an easy, engaging read. You can see where I'm at. With all the things. I have not gotten nearly as far, but that's what Mother's Day weekend is for. And I'm definitely looking forward to going. It's got me pulled in. I think for me, the brilliance to take your career as a leader in this industry, insurance, fire, and allow a story to reveal itself from that is absolutely brilliant. Of course, that's brilliant creatively, and we'll talk about that more. But it's also brilliant professionally, because if we double click and remember, here it is. Essentially, for a lot of people, the rug was taken from underneath you as far as your vision of where your feet would be and how they would be and how they would flourish, right? And you stayed and you allowed yourself to, I'm sure, do a great job where you are and start to unfold this story. And I bet, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, I bet that in doing so, you brought new energy to the place where you were because you were getting that outlet. I'm guessing, is that off or no?
No, you're absolutely right. Because I was getting to a point where I was engaged at work and doing something different with it. And so relearning some things that I almost unlearned, right? And of course, you've got to learn, unlearn, and relearn.
Yeah.
And so always. And so I was at that place, but I wasn't the creativity and all of the things that I was bringing to the table before just weren't there for a while. And people talk about work-life balance. I don't believe in work-life balance. I don't think there's really a certain thing. I do believe in work-life integration.
Yes.
And so for me, I had to figure out what was the right work-life integration for me.
Yes.
And so I was able to pull some of all of the knowledge and the learnings that I had with my insurance career and put that into really creative use into this book. Because with the book, it is based on a family owning an insurance company and all of these things happening based on that.
Yeah.
And so there is a lot of knowledge that I bring in to this book based on my career. Wow. And I couldn't have done that if I wasn't re-engaged and really focused in on my career. I wouldn't have been able to do that in the right way with this book.
You couldn't have done that if you hadn't completely change your story about the place where you were, even in your journey, right? Like, I'm sorry, I hope every mid, late, early career person that's listening to this is really listening to this, because there will be rugs pulled. It will happen if you choose a career in any organization, and that can be corporate, that can be academic, it can be all things in between, medical, anything, right? It will happen. Please trust our words. The trick is, how do you receive what's happening, and what story do you put around it? And like Stacey said, what does integration look like when you make a decision, right? There's so much there. That's like a whole masterclass that I think maybe you and I should do, because that is brilliant. And we need to unpack that, but we also need to unpack this novel. So, all right. So you've got this family, and they are talking to you, and they are, right when we start the book, it really pulls us in, because you've got, this one very nervous sister, you've got one dead sister, you've got, so and I'm not spoiling anything, like it's like it from the jump. You've got this, extended relationship that's been around for a long time. You've got this call from this other person that we don't quite know who he is yet, but there's he seems to be on the police force, seems to have some relationship with one of the sisters. Like, it's so much that you're just like, oh my God, like you hit us in the beginning with so much character. I'm going to say character curiosity, right? Yeah, that's really how I think about it. So, I'm really looking forward to continuing to explore those things more. Okay, so when did you know, when the character started speaking to you, that would be your hero and your villain, when they started speaking to you, when did you know that you would take them to a crescendo and it was over? Or are we going to see a series?
We are going to see a series for sure.
Ooh, yes.
And yes, but I'll say this, because as I mentioned, I love to read. But what I hate when I read a great story is that there's this cliffhanger and you're just like, no, what happened?
Please don't do that, Stacey.
No. So this book, you have the answers.
Oh.
When you finish the book, you know what has happened.
So we will know. We will know when we get to the end of this. I'll be able to like inhale, exhale, breathe, and at least be complete in this moment. Okay.
Yes, you will.
That makes me happy.
But it's clear, it's going to be clear to you that there is more to come.
Okay.
You have your answers, but then okay, there's more to this story. There's more to this story.
So are you working on, okay, so here's another author story, all right, question that a lot of us have, especially with our fictionalist. Are you writing while this is sitting with us?
I am.
Inside scoop. Okay.
I am. And so it's interesting, because obviously I just published this book, so excited about this book, and really just getting it out there in so many ways. And this book is my first baby. This is my baby.
Yeah.
And I can say that it's funny, Mother's Day.
Yeah.
I don't have any children.
Yeah.
I've got one big baby, my husband. That's it.
Yes. Yes.
And so this story,
and a very fit one too, as you know, the apple doesn't fall too far, because Stacey's husband is pretty phenomenal and pretty acclaimed himself in things outside of corporate realm as well. I think what is it, bodybuilding?
Yes, he is.
I was going to say wrestling, and I was like, I love voice. I don't think he's wrestling. He's bodybuilding.
That's right.
And he's won titles, right?
Yes, he's a professional bodybuilder. Yeah. So as an amateur, he was Mr. Georgia. He won Mr. Florida. He won several contests, and he did that before we married. And then we married, he stopped and just stayed in shape. And he is retired now. And so when he retired, he said, you know what, I want to go back to competing. But I want to earn what they call my pro card, so I can compete professionally.
Wow.
So he resumed competing in amateur contests. Won his pro card. You've got to win certain contests to earn a pro card. He did that. And now he is a professional bodybuilder. And here's the kicker. He is
Wow.
66 and has competed and won against men who have been 10 to 15 years younger than him.
Wow. So seriously, when we say partner well for executive coaching and mindset, you did. Because he's been utilizing, and I feel like I've done the same, honestly, because when you are connected to a professional athlete, I think in any realm, the mentality that is just coursing through their DNA is one that processes hurdles like no other brains I know, right? And they manage pivots and they see past challenges, literally see past them. That's amazing. Okay. All right. Terrell, you got your commercial break. Now back to the scheduled programming.
That's right. Agreed.
How did you say, I want to tell this story fiction versus I want to tell about my lessons learned nonfiction? Did you ever think about a nonfiction book?
You know, I did think about it and immediately ruled it out. I ruled it out.
That was way too vulnerable, right?
Exactly. I wasn't ready to go there. I figured, you know what, let me put something else out that is still vulnerable because it's about me, my thoughts, but I wasn't ready to take that leap. That may be in the future.
Yes, yes. It is. It's a real thing for sure. Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so what are your key takeaways in launching this book when you think about what it takes to do so? What are your key takeaways that you would share with somebody?
I would say the first thing is, and frankly, I think about this in life. So I'm going to prescribe it to the book, but frankly, and just about everything that's important to you, important to me, important to those who are listening, is that it's not enough to be motivated, because sometimes you're not motivated, right? You've got to be disciplined. And I didn't, I'm not the author of those words. I've heard it so many times. My husband feels that way with his professional career. You've got to be disciplined and you've got to be committed, because you won't always be motivated to do it.
Yes, yes.
And so that, for me, that's a big piece that kept me going. You know, it maybe just write just
Commitment and discipline.
Wow. Commitment and discipline, for sure. And then I think you've got to ask yourself, why am I doing this? What's your why?
Girl, yes.
What is your why? And that answer is different for all of us. And so you've got to think through, what is your why? And if you don't have a why, then maybe this is not the course for you. And that's okay, right? Everybody's not meant to write a book. As you stated those statistics earlier on, everybody doesn't do it. And it's not for everybody. But think about, what is your why? I would say, for sure. And then I would say the last thing is, you know what? Don't put pressure on yourself. Enjoy the process. Enjoy it. Go through it. Experience it. With me writing this book, it was a lot of fun and it was a lot of hard work. But I absolutely enjoyed writing this, and I absolutely enjoyed getting to know these characters better. You know, I will close it with, I'll say this, because I harassed my mother, my sister. I would feed them three or four chapters at a time. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? And so when they finally finished the first draft and it was all said and done, my mother said the best thing that she could have said. I don't even realize she knew how much it impacted me. She said, "I'm going to miss these people," is what she said. And that was just profound. I knew when she said that, that I was writing the right book. I was on the right track.
Wow. I can't even say anything to that. I do want to acknowledge that someone's listening to this, Stacey, and they are themselves considering how to be in that 3% number. And they're unpacking some of your guidance of commitment and dedication. Are there any things that work for you? Because many people are writing around a work schedule. So do you set a timer? Do you set a time of day? Like, are there any practical tips that someone's like, how do I make this vision come to life around, you know, working, wifing, momming, whatever they're doing? Is there some tip for that helps us?
Yeah, I would say, and of course we're all different, right? And we all have different work experiences, family experiences. So it everybody doesn't fall into the same spot. But I think it's important to sit down and say, you know what, I am going to dedicate uh, X time, whether it's you're writing 3 times a week, and whether it's at night, you say, you know what, I'm going to make sure that I write for an hour.
Okay.
Um, or whether it's the weekend, whatever it is, try to commit to a certain time
Mm.
and forgive yourself if it doesn't work because life happens.
Yes.
Um, but life happens, but then don't continue to let some of those things get in the way.
Mm.
So if life happens and gets in the way this week, okay, fine. You know what? Blow it off, and then but next week you got to power through. Next week you got to keep going back until you are able to catch up and continue to write your book or continue to really focus in on your passion because that story's there, that story's inside. And if you want to tell it, don't let anything pull you out of telling it. And it's okay if it takes you 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. If you've got that passion and that story to tell, then let that story unfold and keep focusing on it.
Wow. Wow. And then the last one I'd ask is regarding the why. Um, what's your why?
For me, the why sort of comes back to the courage piece.
Mm.
And with what I went through professionally,
Yes.
I had to recognize that it was time to focus on myself. And I had to determine what was it that was going to make me whole. And I recognized I needed to pull this out. I needed this for me. I need to do this for me. And that's why I did it.
Okay, so I have to read the back of this book. Determination becomes obsession, and then it becomes all that matters. Jeremy Irvine had this to say about the book. The Devereaux siblings are young, talented entrepreneurs running a successful insurance company. That success is tested as a series of unimaginable events surround them. London, her sister Remy, and their brother Luke evoke feelings of immense loyalty from those close to them. But some aren't loyalists, and everyone isn't quite who they appear to be. Someone despises them enough to commit arson against their company. When that doesn't hurt enough, the consequences turn deadly for one of them. The police are struggling to find the perpetrators. Hello, can I read? Forcing the siblings to take matters into their own hands. Can they survive, or will they succumb to the fire starter? Oh my God, Stace, you did that, girl. I couldn't be more proud of you. I'm super excited for the journey of the book. I'm looking forward to being with you there on the journey. You got to come to South Florida and do a book signing.
You know what? You're right. I'm doing one in Atlanta very shortly,
Okay.
planning one in New Orleans, but you're right. Maybe I could look into coming down to Florida as well.
I would love to be a part of that decision. So let's talk about that and also let me know all the dates. And do you have any other dates already that you can let people know in case they're hearing this this weekend and want to participate?
Sure. Well, for Atlanta, it's very soon. It's going to be Thursday, May 16th.
Awesome.
In Alpharetta, Georgia. In New Orleans, we're finalizing it now, so it's not quite on the books, but it should be June 28th.
Excellent.
Coming up. So very excited about it, but more to
Is
come.
there a website that folks can, or social media? How can people tap into the social side of who you are and what's happening?
I do have an Instagram account, and so it definitely pull me up on Instagram, Stacey Harmon. And gosh, you know what? I'm so used to it. I think it's Stacey Harmon 5359, but look me up, you'll see.
Excellent, excellent.
I've got the book on there, and certainly Facebook as well. Working on a website as we speak.
See, this is what happens when success starts pulling you, right? It's like you're putting all the pieces. I honestly feel that same way about the podcast. Even though it's been a minute, it's been such a thing that, I've been like, okay, I'm doing it because of passion, not because it's, sort of structured and, all those things. And I'm being pulled to do that rather quickly. And so it's pretty neat to start putting that meat on the bones, right?
Yes.
So good. Well, again, All success. I'm sure that this is going to be amazing. Godspeed to you in all of this, and keep being courageous and fighting the good fight and telling your story, your personal story, because I think one of the things that I will just double click on before we leave, it is incredible that you produced something so beautiful out of a time that was so hard.
Thank you, Chandra. I certainly appreciate
So proud of you. Love you, girl.
it. Love you too.